What up, guys? Today we're going to be watching Jobbers and Goons' video called Why Thor vs. Vegeta is Not Even Close. Now, this was suggested to me by a subscriber of mine by the name of Liquidus. He told me to go check it out, and he mentioned that one of my other viewers or subscribers named Uzaka4, which I have seen his comments countless times, and I appreciate his comments. But apparently, he said that on that video, he gave out his own points and his argument and counter argument against Jobbers and Goons' claims about Thor being stronger than Vegeta, so he gave his opinion, and apparently he was being attacked in the comments section, which I'm not surprised. He's a big comic book channel, and he's a big comic book fan, so his audience would be more on the comic book side, and they'll be more likely to support comic book characters and call out more like, anime characters or, anime fans, especially Dragon Ball fans. And I do think his content, I really disagree with it. A lot of his arguments for the comic book characters, I think he over-exaggerates their power, kind of wanks them a little. And when it comes to Dragon Ball characters, sometimes he's fair, but most of the times he's downplaying them and, disrespecting them and talking trash about them like they're nothing compared to comic book characters, which I do think that's a big, gross overstatement. Now, I know a lot of people disagree with me on that point, but I just don't think comic book characters are as powerful as a lot of these fans try to make them out to be. So it's quite interesting. I'm going to be definitely checking the comment section after I'm done with making this video. But yeah, he told me to go check it out. I thought it would be quite interesting. And I have checked out a couple of his videos before, and you guys already know my opinion on his videos. I disagree with it heavily, and I have a feeling I'm going to severely disagree with this one too. I also did a video on talking about Cosmic King Thor and how strong he was. And from what I found out, he wasn't too crazy powerful. At most, I put him up at Universal or Universal Plus, but I wouldn't put him at anything insanely high like how he did like with the Outerversal statements. But also, I got a new subscriber, and a lot of you guys might know who this person is because it's not just a regular person. This is actually a pretty decent sized YouTuber by the name of Drip Sauce. Yes, it is the actual Drip Sauce. I clicked on his profile and it sends me directly to his channel. I don't know if you guys can see that. Sorry, maybe the ring light makes it hard to see. But yes, he just started subscribing to me. I woke up in the morning and I checked out my subscriber. Sometimes I get like notifications for who subscribed to my channel, and he popped up. So I was surprised, to be honest. I didn't even know he actually checked out my channel before, and it's even crazier due to the fact that I didn't know about his channel until only recently with my video on the whole Superman ordeal where I had the whole argument with the Superman fans. That's the only time I heard about him, and then I did one reaction to one of his videos. So he probably saw that because his name was in it, and he probably liked my video itself, so he subscribed to my channel. So a big thank you to Drip Sauce for subscribing to this channel. It's pretty insane. I've only been on YouTube for a little bit over a year now at this point, and I never expected to get this much, attention this early on. I know it's not like I've got so much attention, but I've got it right from pretty decently sized, Dragon Ball YouTubers and power scalers in general. So it's pretty crazy to see these big names come up. Whenever I see that, I just can't even believe it. I woke up in the morning and I was like, did I dream that? But no, it really did happen. So I just want to mention that. So with that being said, let's get into the video itself.
Getting into this, let's talk about Thor versus Vegeta. First of all, I hate that I have to do Vegeta like this. I'm actually a Vegeta fan. The only time I don't like Vegeta is when I see him going up against a main character or villain, because I know the writer's gonna do him fucking dirty, and I hate that for him, because it's predictable every time. But regardless, Vegeta's an asshole, and I love his character. But unfortunately for him, that shitty hairline's getting knocked even further back by Thor, and let me explain why. You see, the best we can do for Vegeta, and, I get a lot of shit for this because people say I kind of highball or wank Dragon Ball, but I think it's fair to at least scale Vegeta to immeasurable. He's fought beings that can move through time. He's fought beings that can freeze time. He's fought in areas void of time. Given these examples of higher speed scaling, I think it's safe to give Vegeta immeasurable. But that's like his mid to high end, right? We look at mid to high end for Thor, it's not even close. First of all, immeasurable would probably be the low end for Thor, given he's literally, since his inception, came from a land beyond time and space and regular dimensions. On top of this, he can travel across many layers of infinities, travel beyond time, travel beyond space, travel through the void of nothingness. There are plenty of examples of Thor having significantly superior speed scaling, even if we, give some favorable speed scaling to Vegeta, if we're a lot more loose with his interpretation on the scaling in the verse for that speed. So I think when you get to mid to high end for both in speed, absolute wash. Thor just casually takes it. Like Vegeta brings nothing to the table in the speed department. Thor hasn't bitch slapped. You know what I mean? Now getting to the attack potency side of things, which
I mean, Thor's speed is a little weird because one, he said that, but he didn't show. And I'm not saying that he's lying, but he didn't show any real images of Thor doing those things like going beyond infinities and stuff like that. But his hammer does allow him the ability to open up portals, so that kind of does negate the whole flying effect, because if he's in a far dimension away or far away, he can literally just open up a portal with it and transport through it. And the way he flies is basically by swinging the hammer and tossing it, it pulls him. So it's basically Mjolnir moving at that speed, not Thor himself. And that wouldn't really equate too well in combat speed scenario, because we're talking about who's when we're talking about speed, we're not talking about like raw speed of who can move from one place to another in a certain amount of time. We're talking about who could use that speed in a fight, and it's kind of hard to do that when he has to swing his hammer and throw it in a linear path. Yes, he can control and move it around a little, but it isn't as good as the mobility as Vegeta just purely flying through his own energy alone. It's significantly different, and we know Dragon Ball characters know how to fight at the speeds that they're moving at, but not every character can fight at the speeds that they're moving at. And there's countless examples of different comic book characters. One in particular I don't want to mention because I know I get a lot of shit for mentioning this character a lot, so I'm just not going to say his name. But there's a lot of characters in comic books that have insane raw speed feats, but have very little to none combat speed feats, and when you compare them, they're not really that great. Now Thor does have more of a legitimacy to it, since he is very he's good at fighting, he's a warrior. But even with that being said, like I said, most of his speed comes from using his hammer to fly. And I bet there's a bunch of instances where you can see where he got speed blitzed by people that weren't that fast. So it's kind of ludicrous to say that that's the case, that his speed is at that level. And transporting through time and stuff like that, like I stated before, to go through time, all you have to do is basically move at the speed of light. So it's nothing too crazy to do that. And like I said, the dimensions, he could just be using a Mjolnir to transport through portals through there. But also that doesn't really equate to his combat speed anyway, so that's kind of pointless to bring up, because Vegeta and the Dragon Ball character's speed, it directly correlates to their combat speed. Not saying it's exactly the same, because I still do think their travel speed should be higher than their combat speed, but I do think it's a lot more closely linked, whereas other fictional characters, since they don't have as much of a skilled fighting stance, they're more relying on raw speed than actual combat speed. And I'm not saying Thor is that case, because he is, he can fight and he knows how to fight. That's usually characters that are very low when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. But still, he uses his hammer to do it, so his hammer does it. Him normally does not move that speed, and his hammer cannot, when it goes flying, he generates the power. He has to, first charge it up by spinning around, and then launching it to go at that speed, right? So he has to build up the momentum from Mjolnir being spun around and being thrown. But when he's fighting, he can't really do that. He's just using his natural speed to dash and hit them. So that's going to be a lot different. Unless he's showing speed feats of him blitzing his opponents and knocking them out with the hammer quick, then that's one thing. But also, even with that being said, he countless times has fought Hulk and other characters that aren't that fast, that are able to catch him and hit him. And the argument some people might say is, well, he's holding back, but against Hulk, a lot of times he's going off and Hulk is beating the crap out of him. Yes, he's not going fully all out, but still he should have enough speed to be able to at least mobilize him without having to severely hurt him, whatever. But also, people might argue that, well, maybe the Hulk is that fast. But let's be honest, what is more realistic? A character that hasn't shown speed to that level, being able to fight somebody that's that fast, making that slower character that fast in combat, or the character that he's fighting against does not know how to use that speed in combat very well, so when they fight, they're a lot slower than when they fly. So when they're fighting against opponents that aren't as fast as them when they normally move through traveling speed, they're a lot more closer linked to combat speed, because his combat speed is not equivalent to his traveling speed. So what I'm basically saying is, Thor might be able to fly at a certain speed, but that doesn't mean he can fight that speed. He probably fights slower, and that's why the Hulk is able to put hands on him and be able to fight back. Not only the Hulk, but other characters that aren't that fast are able to put hands on him, more likely than the Hulk is just as fast as, you know, Thor being able to move at the speed of light and stuff like that. I don't think that's very realistic. I think it's more realistic that the other characters just, you know, not that fast when it comes to combat. But yeah, like I said, if Hulk can get put hands on him, and of Thing or any of these other characters that haven't shown any insane feats, speed, then somebody like Vegeta, who fights characters who are very fast and his, you know, trial speed and combat speed are very closely linked, I think that should be, you know, Vegeta would be able to put hands on him. Saying that he would speed blitz him is like, well, then shouldn't he speed blitz the Hulk? Shouldn't he speed blitz, you know, the Thing or any of these other characters that are not as fast as him? How come they are able to put hands on him? So, if they can do it, then Vegeta should definitely be able to.
It's a big deal in a versus battle. Looking at AP, Vegeta, you know, being real nice with the scaling, I think it's fair to easily get him the Multiversal Plus, especially in current editions of Vegeta. The reason I say so is that Vegeta scales to characters that can threaten the macrocosm. This includes verses or slash dimensions that are above 3D and 4D, so you can get to like 5D plus scaling. Within the cosmology, there's realms without time and space. There have been arguments before for like infinite timelines and whatnot. You can easily argue a multiversal to multiversal plus structure within Dragon Ball, right? This
Okay, I had to pause right there because the fact that he's making it sound like, yeah, that's the highest he could get to, or like he's making it sound like, you know, he's over exaggerating or wanking or highballing him a little by putting him at that level. Like, it's very common. He's very casually should be multiversal. That shouldn't even be an argument or debate. He's treating it like, oh, you could put him at that. You know, there's an argument that he's not at that level. No, he's definitely at that level. I mean, Goku at this point, like I said, him and Goku are pretty equivalent in power. They sometimes overlap each other back and forth quite a bit. But Vegeta is literally, especially at this point, he's on Goku's level. And like I said, we saw in the last video yesterday on Toaster XD's channel, with what Goku's able to do. And though I disagreed with the notion that the Dragon Ball universe is infinite because of my argument, even with that being said, the feat that he was able to accomplish all the way back in just Battle of Gods and seeing how they got way stronger throughout the entire time, he should be well above, you know, just a multiversal level plus. It's not even a debate at that point. Like, come on. He's making it sound like it's surprising that, you know, Vegeta can destroy 1,000 universes, or like, he's like, because he feels hesitant to say that this is definitively the case. Like, you know, it might sound like a stretch or he's wanking him, when in reality it's the most like simple and basic and kind of low level, like, you know, statement to make. It's nothing insane to say that he's multiversal plus. I think he's more than that, though. He's definitely can do way more than that. Like I said, if Goku could destroy the Dragon Ball macrocosm, where we have their universe that's the size of our universe, you have heaven that's the size of our universe, then you have Grand Kai's planet, which is a little bit smaller than the universe, then you have their sun, which is also a little bit smaller than the universe, then you have Otherworld, which houses those multiple universe levels, celestial bodies, and can encompass even more than that. Then you have the hell, which is basically like a parallel dimension that is also the size of the universe, is comparable. No, it's actually not the size of the universe. It's even bigger, because it was stated that hell was bigger than, or I think I got the demon realm mixed up. That was the demon realm, was a parallel to the universe, so it's another universe-sized body. And then we have hell, which we don't know exactly how big it is, but we do know from what it was made in a statement that it was way bigger than heaven. So it's an even bigger dimension than even heaven itself, all lumped onto each other, making a giant macrocosm. Then you have the Supreme Kai's world, which is 1/10 the size of that macrocosm, rotating around it in a unquantifiable like distance. So the explosion from the, you know, punches from 3 classes was able to stretch out that far. But towards the end of that arc, Goku in his base was able to absorb Super Saiyan God, because he was able to destroy Beerus' Sphere of Destruction with a single punch. So to me, that showcases that at that point Goku was really on the cusp of Super Saiyan God level, which is astronomically high, is well above, you know, universal level. in multiple universes back then, and then you have the Super Saiyan multipliers stacked on top of it, all this multiplication that he multiplies to his power. Then you had, Toaster XD's like calculations of getting to a rough ballpark estimate of a low ball of 12 million times stronger just in the Tournament of Power alone. And now we went far past that with, the Moro arc and the Granola arc. And I guess, Dragon Ball Super Heroes, most of that power up is more for Gohan and Piccolo than Vegeta and Goku, so they didn't get any significant boost after that. But they've gotten significantly stronger. So saying that is kind of a low ball. He's making it sound like, it's one of those things that is debatable. It's not. It's literally just the case. That is, if you don't agree with that, then you just are downplaying Dragon Ball straight up. So he's going to say he's outer versal, which he's already stated before, or above outer versal.
Doesn't mean much to Thor, because if we're going mid to high end for Thor, he's currently battling the Utgard, beings beyond time, space, dimension, logic. They're beyond Yggdrasil of the World Tree entirely. They're beyond even the non-realms. He fought the Chaos King before, even damaged it. He's damaged Null with his Divine Lightning. He has this... he's literally fought beings that scale to eternity and multi-eternity, scales to and above his father. In current times, Thor is currently the king. So base Thor right now scales to his all power, which scales above the Odin force, which is why he can fight someone like the Utgard. So current, especially in base for current Thor, Jesus Christ, he is fondling Vegeta casually. And I think another aspect of this battle that people don't consider as much, which I think they should, is the hacks. When you look...
Okay, he's gonna get into the hack side. I don't know about the Thor's AP feats. I don't know who the Udenghards are. I haven't gotten to that point. Remember, I did do the Cosmic King Thor one, but I didn't get super far. I did his main issue was over 35 issues, and then an additional one where they had a more story. They're still going on with the story with him fighting against Thanos and getting the Black Infinity Stone, or whatever. So we need to see the end of that story event because that's supposed to be the big bad that he's supposed to beat. So depending on how insanely powerful Thanos gets from that, and Thor being able to beat him, that will really put him up high. Him hurting Null with the lightning, remember, in that comic, it stated specifically that the symbiotes at that point weren't affected by fire and sound anymore, like how they used to be, but one element did hurt them, and that was lightning. So he did have a weakness to lightning, and since he is a thunder god, it would make sense that he would do pretty good damage to him. But even still, he wasn't able to put him down. And it took Eddie Brock taking his hammer and the Uniforce, which was literally made to take down Null, to beat him. So him being able to hurt him with lightning strike doesn't really matter, since that's literally the only weakness he had, and he should be able to hurt him. He has the most significant power in that regard. But even then, he didn't really do much in that fight against Null. He was pretty much getting dog walked. He got beaten up by the Hulk too, when the Hulk got Joe Fixer taking over his body, and then he had anti-gamma in his body. But he wasn't that strong to be this conceptual being at that level of power, and he was able to beat the crap out of Thor. So yeah, I don't know about that. He said he fought the Dark King and stuff. Personally, from what I saw, remember when the Black Winter, he had to take the power of an powerfully amped Galactus plus the power Cosmic and stuff to obliterate it. He did beat it pretty easily, but it was a universal level threat. So I don't think it's that crazy, his power up, because if he had to take that much power just to beat a universal level threat, then him fighting these other guys. And also, it's we need a more in-depth explanation on what happened. Did he just hurt them? Did he beat them? Or was he just fighting against them? Because a lot of times these godly beings, they are very arrogant, and they look down on these other creatures that are lower than them. So they don't really take them seriously. So it really depends on, was he giving them a serious threat? Or was he a serious danger that they had to, pull out all the stops? Or were they just casually fighting? Because there's a significant difference. It's like saying, well, Goku's able to fight Beerus. He was nowhere near Beerus' level. Even at this point, Beerus is still stronger than Goku, which is insane because Beerus fought Goku way, way back all the way in Battle of Gods. He literally fought him all the way back in Battle of Gods, and Goku, it looked like he was pushing him to a high extent, but even after that, after his insane power jumps in power, he's still not on Beerus's level. So just because a character is able to fight or even hurt a godly being, that doesn't mean that the godly being was significantly hurt, and it could be just the godly being was messing around and not taking them seriously, so they got caught off. Because sometimes they put these unbelievably OP characters, and they're like, how do we make them lose or get hurt? Let's have a BS excuse saying that they got too cocky, and because of that they let the guard down and got hurt, whatever stupid shit like that. So it's a little iffy there. I don't know enough to say exactly if that's true or not, but like I said, it really depends on the context on what happened and how he did the damage. Just damaging them is not enough. It depends on what steps he took to damage them. But like I said, Goku fought against Beerus, but that doesn't mean Goku's on Beerus' level. Even now, he's not on his level, even with his astronomical jump in power. So that could be also the case for them.
Look at Vegeta, he has decent hacks. We know in Dragon Ball, if you scale 2 or above someone, you can pretty much resist things they do to you, even matter manipulation. Literally, he got turned into candy, and characters could still fight through it and bounce around. Now, you could also argue, let's give him Hakai, stuff like that. Soul Erasure, all that, matter erasure, energy attacks, energy manipulation. You have all these abilities for Vegeta. Thor's been doing that shit for decades. Thor's been doing that shit since before Vegeta was even a concept. He has temporal storms he can summon. He one-shot a storm and can one-shot summon a storm bigger than Asgard itself that can cover entire realms. He has the God Blast if things really get sticky that even Galactus tries to avoid. He can BFR. He can seal you away, attack you astrally. His telepathic defenses are insanely good as well. He has matter manipulation, reality warping, and plenty more cosmic hacks through Mjolnir. Thor just has so many powers that are actually superior to even Vegeta's.
Okay, so the hacks, he's kind of lackluster in his argument here. He says that, he says he has the God Blast, which even Galactus is scared of. I've mentioned before, I don't think Galactus is that powerful. I don't even put him at a universal level because we saw the Black Winter, he was afraid of that, and he barely survived against him. He allowed him to survive to become his herald. And Black Winter was just universal level because he was just wiping out universes one by one. So he was a universal level threat, and he couldn't do anything against him, and he had to get a power amp to possibly beat him, and he still needed Thor on his side to help him out. So him avoiding it doesn't really mean much. It's nothing too crazy. His other abilities where he has negating abilities like mind hack stuff, Vegeta's not going to use that. He says he has matter manipulation with Mjolnir. They say that, but I think most of the matter manipulation or whatever manipulation he has is going to come from the power cosmic. But from what we've seen, he still uses his power normally. The only power that he uses that isn't conventional means of physical strength or speed and lightning is pretty much his energy absorption. But the reason why he was able to absorb Galactus' powers because he already had the power cosmic in him. Vegeta is going to be a little bit different. I don't think he can just absorb ki like that. But yeah, his hacks abilities are not really going to do anything because he doesn't really use them anyway. He probably doesn't have that great use or control over it, or it's just not that significantly powerful. It's just probably an additional bonus, but it's nothing significant to him.
So when we're looking at this in terms of combatants, across the board, Thor has always been superior to Vegeta. Even when we use video games, that would be high end, and if you use high end for Thor, it's still a stomp. So while I love both characters, Vegeta's always fun to throw in there for a scrap. He's getting his shit rocked by Thor, and the sad part is, despite all the forums, despite all the times this battle comes up, unless you're doing a narrative battle and you try to argue they're relative narratively, which I could argue they're not easily. It's not even close. It's pretty much a stomp, There's not much hope for Vegeta. I'm sorry, Vegeta fans. Thor would beat the shit out of him. And not only is it not close now, but it was never really even close.
So that was Jobbers and Goons' video on why Thor versus Vegeta is not even close. Now that was another great video from Jobbers and Goons. Personally, I 100% disagree with that statement. He doesn't. That's the thing about his arguments. He just says that he's did this or that crazy thing, but you have to show more context. Yes, he fought these beings, but like I stated before, just because a character is able to fight somebody doesn't mean he's able to compare to their abilities or show anything significant unless you're showing that. He needs to show more, like, images and stuff like that. That's why when I make those videos on how strong these characters, I try to read and go in depth on what happened in the battle. I'm not just saying that this character did this or that. I want to go into what happened in that fight, what did they do in that fight, and I want to look at how it happened, because just saying that they fought them and beat them is not enough, because then it matters about how they beat them. There could be other ways that they beat them that put them in a position where they were in a weakened state or whatever, or like it wasn't as straightforward as they made it sound. So I don't really agree with that. His arguments were pretty lackluster. He gave like half-hearted, arguments for his hacks ability. His speed, like I said, he was more equating to just the general speed. He also didn't show any evidence on him doing those other things. Like I said, he could have just been opening portals and teleporting. But even then, combat speed, it's different than travel speed, and we know that people like the Hulk can actually put hands on him, so Vegeta would be able to put hands on him too. It's not like this guy can just move around and dodge all of his attacks. Vegeta's going to be able to hit him and hit him hard. And him saying that, him putting him against those characters, like I said, he didn't show to what extent he was doing the damage or what was happening. He just said that he fought them, so he must be, insanely powerful. But like I said, when I went to the Cosmic King Thor story, which was supposed to be not even a base level Thor, it was supposed to be a highly amped up Thor. Maybe not the strongest version of Thor, but definitely a highly amped up Thor. And he was still just Universal Plus at that point. So I don't think Thor is that insanely powerful, especially when he's in his base form, without any power amps or boosts or some kingly or godly, not godly, but kingly ruling and positioning. I don't think he gets that insanely powerful. At most, I would put him at normally relatively smaller than weaker than Universal level, because we know Galactus, not Galactus, yeah, Galactus actually too, but Galactus and Thanos are closer in power, and both of those characters are not Universal really. Thanos really needs the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet just to be able to affect the universe in general. Without it, he's the galaxy level at most. So he's galaxy level at most, so is Galactus, and they're usually above Thor. Usually he's getting dog walks. Sometimes he gets, chances to be able to fight back, but normally he's weaker than them. So the fact that these characters are galactic level or multi-galaxy level and not even universal level, and naturally he gets beaten up by them, it's just not even close. And even with his power amps, he doesn't get too significant of a power amp, because he still needs to absorb Galactus as a whole and all the energy just to be able to beat the Black Winter, which wasn't insanely unbeatable, especially compared to Vegeta. And his hacks argument, like I said, it was just not that great. So yeah, personally, I don't think this video was atrocious like some of his other ones that I've seen, but it wasn't that great either. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.